Hey, Coach, thanks for joining us today. I heard you have an opening statement, and then we can get going with questions right after that.
Yeah, I think obviously with the news this week, I just wanted to offer my condolences to everybody on the call. The passing of Lou, I'm sure has weighed heavy on all you guys, as well as many of us here that have been part of this Notre Dame community for a while now. So I just wanted to thank you guys for being here, offer my condolences, and obviously my thoughts and prayers are with you all and Lou's family. And didn't want to start this thing off without recognizing him. And I know there's a scholarship going into his name, and that's a great thing, and honors a great man. So I just want to say thank you to all you guys, and that we're thinking of you and praying for you, and hope to see you guys soon when all this stuff clears up.
We're going to go to John Finneran for the first question.
First of all, Tom, thank you very much for those kind words. Lou has meant a lot to all of us. We appreciate it. I just my two questions for you would be if you could take a look at your work with the quarterbacks this spring, and also what you see occurring on the offensive line. Maybe if you're getting more specific as who will be starting where. Thank you.
Absolutely. Start with the quarterbacks there. I think, look, we really have three guys taking the majority of the reps right now: Jack Cohn, Drew Pine, and Tyler Buckner. I would say I'll start with Jack. Him coming in has been a very smooth transition for us. He's a kid that right away, his work ethic, his commitment to the game, the way he handles himself, not only with the players, but with the coaches and the rest of the staff, has been outstanding. I'll say it, like, he came in, there's some unknowns there. The first time we had the opportunity to throw together, I was extremely impressed. Here's a guy that can drive the ball to the width of the field, can stretch the field vertically, has accuracy to go along with it, which is, when you compare that type of arm strength with elite accuracy, that's usually a pretty good combination. As we've gotten to go in spring ball, the majority of his work's been with the first group. He's certainly taken his reps with the twos as well, but the majority has been with the first group. And the thing that's shown up over and over is his ability to stay calm in the pocket and see things downfield, stay in there, deliver some critical throws, whether it be a third down situation, an opportunity for a play action shot. So he's done a really nice job there. There are still steps that we want to take with him. I think anytime you're transitioning to a new offense, there's some comfort things that you got to get a hold of. There's some of the small details that we got to iron out. And that's really where our focus is right now, is getting those details and the nuances of this offense down. Drew Pine, same situation as Jack in terms of where he's been repping. The majority of his reps have come with the first group. Then obviously taking some with the twos as well to split up the reps evenly. Drew, from the moment he stepped in here last year till now, has been just an absolute burst of energy for the group. He kind of sets the tone in terms of the way he is vocal, brings energy, not only to the quarterback group, but the rest of the offense. That's the joy to play this game is evident every time you watch Drew. He's a steady player. He understands the most important thing to do as a quarterback is to put the offense in good plays and to move the ball. And that's his strength right now. And that's something that we're going to continue to build on. And as it feels like he's a veteran, but he's only been here a year. So there's still a little bit of a learning curve. There's still some things that we're trying to get fixed with him. But in terms of being efficient and making the offense go, he's done a great job of that. And then, obviously the one you guys want to hear about is Tyler Buckner. And, he's done a really nice job. Look, he had not played football in over a year. That rust is starting to wear off pretty nicely here. I think his raw talent and ability has shown up. His ability to make quick decisions has shown up. The ball comes out of his hand as quickly as anybody we have. Again, same thing. He's able to drive the ball to different areas of the field, which allows us to stretch it not only vertically but also the width. And then the added bonus there is he's an elite athlete. There have been some opportunities to get him out in space, and that's really been exciting to watch. Now, there is still some rust. There's a lot of learning for him. Here's a senior in high school coming in who didn't get an opportunity to play last season, who's coming in and is learning on the fly and taking a lot of things in stride. But he's been repping with that second group, and we're trying to get him as many reps possible. One thing that Tyler and I talked about leading up to spring was spring ball is a great launching pad to get yourself ready for fall camp. Nobody expects you to come in spring ball right now and be a finished product. we are trying to build something towards the future. And that's where our focus has been with Tyler.
And this next question is,
line. Yep,
okay.
I got you. Yeah, with the offensive line, look, we're not going to have. You asked about the individual positions. We're not going to have that right now. We have a couple injuries up front. We have guys, moving around. We're looking for our best five and our most consistent five to play together and to operate as one. Okay, that is what we're striving for every single day. Obviously, we have a couple of young guys taking a lot of reps, and as many reps as they can get, the better off they're going to be for it. So the offensive line is going to continue to be a work in progress. We do not have all the parts there right now, but these reps that those young guys are getting are going to be instrumental into their ultimate growth.
All right, and this next question is going to come from Todd Burlich. His mic isn't working, so I'm going to ask it for him. After his breakout year, what would you like to see Kyron improve on this season?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, for Kyron specifically, it's how many different ways can we get him involved in the offense? We're going to add even more to his plate. We're going to see him line up in other areas of the field. I think we have 3 running backs that can all play for us right now and can all give us benefit. And so it's our job to get the best players on the field all the time. And so for Kyron, because he has an innate ability in the pass game, it's going to be how do we expand his role to maximize even more touches, to get him into more space. So we're doing a lot of things right now, playing around with him and the other backs, whether there's 2 of them in the game or we're lining them up outside of the backfield. That's the next progression in terms of how we want to play this year.
All right, and this next question is going to come from Tyler James.
Tommy, Michael Mayer had certainly a great freshman year and clearly has a bright future. How do you continue to find more ways to get him the ball? And can the go-to guy in your offense be a tight end like Michael?
Yeah, it was in 2012. I can tell you that. And I don't see why it should be any different in terms of being able to feature someone. In terms of Mike's ability, I think he's really only scratching the surface. And last year was only a brief glimpse of how good this kid can be. There's something to say about the way he works, the tenacity that he plays with, the edge that he plays with. There's a reason why, obviously he's extremely talented, but there's a reason why he's a great player and the mentality is there. I would say the same thing about Kyron. Those two really have the same type of mentality where, they're going to compete every single opportunity they have, and they're not going to let it slow them down. For us, it's all about trying to isolate matchups for Mike. How do we get him in a situation where they cannot help? And where can we get him one-on-one? Because it really doesn't matter if it's a corner, then he's going to have a size advantage. If it's a safety or a linebacker, he's going to have an agility advantage. So we're going to do as many things as we can to try to isolate him where they can't help with a second player.
All right, this next question is going to come from Tim Priester.
More of a big picture. When you did your postseason self-scout of Red Zone, what conclusions did you reach as to how you want to attack that moving forward? And on the practice videos, we've seen a lot of the upper class wide receivers, and Coach Kelly said that room has to be driven by those guys. Can you comment on them? And are there any of the young wide receivers that are ready to break through?
Yeah. To start, the red zone question. Obviously, look, we want to be more efficient there. If we can get our red zone level to where it was on third down, that's a very, that type of efficiency in the red zone is ultimately going to lead to more points. We can't settle for field goals. We all know that. In terms of studying what we did, I think, the biggest takeaways from that is, one, when we were at the best in the red zone, we were able to run the football. Okay. When we struggled in the red zone, it was because we were trying to force the ball into the end zone. There are completions to be had that happen in front of the end line that can result in, look, if you're on the 10-yard line and you get 7 yards, you just took 70% of the field that's left and took it away. All right. So that's a huge gain from the 10. So there are opportunities to continue to push the ball in front of the end line and allow our best players. It could be catch after the run. It could be, down on the 2, and now we're in a great set on second down. So I think, for myself, it's about how do we continue to balance ourselves in the red zone without feeling like every throw needs to get us a score. There are some other things that are very technical and schematic that I don't necessarily want to share at this moment. But at the end of the day, the other thing that we did when we were successful down there is we found opportunities to get our best players matched up one-on-one. And that's something that we're going to continue to strive to do. In terms of the wide receiver group, look, I think when you look at the spring, it's been a wave a little bit here. There was early in spring, I felt like the whole group, making plays, stepping up, everybody was healthy. There was a freshness to them and a lot of excitement. As spring goes on, there's some days in the middle of spring practice that you start to slip a little bit, but I would say those veterans have continued to push the group in terms of the direction that we want to go. I think Lawrence Keys has probably had as good of a spring as anybody on offense. He's shown the ability to stretch the field, make explosive plays. And that was one of the things that we challenged him with. Like, we're going to put you in opportunities to make plays down the field. It's time to go make them. And some of that is continuing to develop his strength. Some of that is just understanding what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it. A guy like Avery Davis is the leader in that group. He's been extremely steady, someone that is dependable and we can count on. Braden Lenzy the last couple of days has really come on. I'm excited about, the trust that we're building there in order for him to be an expanded role and hand him more on his plate. The other guys, Joe Wilkins has been pretty steady throughout spring, but we need his game to go to a next extra level. The young guys, Jordan Johnson missed a couple practices. That's going to slow his development down. Lorenzo Styles has certainly done some good things, but just like any senior, there's a new speed, there's new expectations, there's a level of detail that goes into playing at this level that those guys just need to learn. So it is the one thing I will say about our receiver group is we have speed out there, right? We have a bunch of guys that can stretch the field, a bunch of guys that can run. And so when we can pair some of those packages together to get the ball down the field and then to create space with the width of the field to get them into open field and one-on-one opportunities.
This next question is going to come from Adam Rittenberg.
Hey, Tommy, you kind of touched on this when you talked about Lawrence, but how much of an emphasis is explosive plays down the field in the passing game for you guys? I mean, you see what's happening around college football and who's winning national titles. I know it's always been important, but is there a new emphasis or goals, or how are you just stressing that? And where do you think your ability is as a group to do better there this year?
Yeah, I think, it's our job as coaches to put them in the right positions to be able to do that. I think the biggest farce going is that to create explosive, every throw has to be 55 yards. That's not really the case. You can watch whoever you want. A lot of those explosive plays come in creating opportunities for your best players to have space and to be in a one-on-one opportunity. So if we can create space using the width of the field to create opportunity, if we can also then attack vertically with the speed we have, that's what leads to explosives. That's been obviously an emphasis for us is, especially in the quarterback room, we talk about vertical shots. Look, if we call a vertical shot on 2nd and 2, we have to be able to manage the situation. If we don't get the right coverage, if we don't get the look we want, we have to be able to get ourselves into an efficient play and move the chains, because then we can call a shot again. All right. Because we're moving the chains. The other thing there is the quarterback's understanding, what are the premier looks to stretch the field? How do we want to take advantage of certain things that the defense is doing? And then obviously putting our right players in the right position. So throughout spring, we have been exploring opportunities to get down the field in different sets, doing some different things in terms of motions and putting guys in different spots to allow them to get favorable matchups where we can now use our speed to our advantage.
All right, this next question is going to come from Eric Hansen from the Tribune.
Hey, Tommy, I got a couple things for you. The first one is, what was the most valuable things you learned last year as a play caller in 12 games that will help you with your play calling, and also where you want to kind of nudge the offense? The second one is kind of a loose emoji question. It's a depth chart question. Behind Michael Mayer, who are the guys? Is there somebody that's emerged like as a sidekick, and what does that depth chart look like?
Yeah, I would say the first answer there, look, you go through a whole season calling it, you're going to learn a ton, and you're going to reflect, and you're going to watch them again. You're going to think about it. I think as the year went on last year, you start to get a sense on when you want to attack, when you want to be aggressive, and you start to learn that you need to keep those things going, right? Like Carolina game, I think they scored, we get the ball back, and the very first play, we throw the shot to Javon down the field that puts us in a good spot. The same thing with the Clemson game the first time. They have, I think they tied it up for the first time of the game. Very next play, we're attacking downfield, Javon on the post again. So, I think one thing I learned is to be aggressive but efficient at the same time, right? You gotta create the offense in a way that allows you, if you get the look you want, you have the opportunity to be aggressive down the field. If you do not get the look you want, you gotta train your quarterback to understand how to manage the down. And that's something that we're going to continue to emphasize and take advantage of. I think the other part about, learning is, how to get people in the right position, right? How do we create the offense? There shouldn't be a play where we have a guy where we don't want him. Like, we can control all those things. And we want to make sure that we are putting the right people in the right spot at the right time to allow us to take full advantage of what we're trying to do. Just personally, I think, you learn, hey, you go back, you look through your call sheet, you don't get to half the calls. You stay up till 1 a.m. Wednesday night working on third down, and you get 7 of them in a game. So I think it's understanding that these things that we're going to rep during the week need to be the ones that we're going to rep on the game day. And I thought we did a good job of that last year. It's something I'm going to continue to push myself to make sure that we hone in on those specific things that we want to get accomplished so that the detail of those plays can be emphasized. In terms of where we want to go, what direction we want to go in this offense, look, this system is one that we are always going to play to our strength. We are not handing them a playbook and say, hey, you fit into this peg. That is not what we're about. We are going to evaluate where our strengths are. We're going to evaluate where we need to improve. And that's how we are going to build the offense. Last year, obviously, we were a veteran offensive line. We were a veteran quarterback. We had a great tight end group. We were able to run the football. We were able to control games. We were able to control the line of scrimmage. We had a shortened off season, which didn't allow us to develop some of the areas we needed to improve on. So we attacked the season in the way that we felt gave us the best opportunity to win every single game. Okay, that is what we're about, is winning the games. And so when we take a look at our team and decide this is what we're best at, this is what gives us the best opportunity to win, that's what we were going to do. This year it's a new team, completely new team. We have more speed than we had a year ago. We have multiple running backs that we want to feature. We have a hell of a tight end that we want to feature. So right now we are trying to create as much space on the field as we can to allow our players to go be explosive. That is what this offseason, the focus has been about: creating space, creating one-on-one opportunities to allow us to be explosive, not only in the passing game, but also in the run game. There's going to be some things that we're going to have to build some stuff into the run game to get the ball out on the perimeter. We're going to have to, help a young offensive line in terms of doing some things that if we don't get a great look, we have to be able to get the ball outside. And look, if we create a one-on-one opportunity out there, and that can lead to explosive plays. So all of that stuff has been fun and exciting to start to develop, to start to install, to see what we've been able to master and what we're still working at. And that's going to be fluid throughout the spring and throughout May and June. And then obviously, as we lead into camp and we get a better feel for who we are, that's when we start to tailor down in what we want to do. The tight ends, I think you look at a guy like George Takis, he could be a great model for what a developmental player looks like at Notre Dame. You come in as a freshman, not ready to play yet, sophomore year, still developing. Last year, take some steps in the right direction where you say, okay, George is going to have a role for us next year. He's a guy that's come in. He's owned that role right now. He's done a really nice job of being the wide tight end in some of our 12 personnel packages. He's been able to go in there as the single tight end in 11. He's continued to develop his passing game. And I think, in terms of being at the point of attack, he's done a really nice job of being a lead tight end. Kevin Bauman has been, pretty steady for us here, especially early in spring. He's a guy that we're counting on this year to have an expanded role. I think he has an extremely high ceiling, which will continue to develop as he gets stronger and more comfortable within the offense. And then, look, we got 2 early enrollees that have probably gotten more reps than they ever imagined they would. Mitchell Evans, a kid who really hasn't played tight end, has shown some extremely raw ability to be a really good player. Like, he is a big human being that has good subtle movement skills, that is able to be fluid and catch the ball and stretch the defense with his length. And then Kane Barong right now, if you look at what he does best, it's getting him in the slot, into some removed situations to really be a receiving tight end. So the group's exciting. We're going to continue to build it in a good direction. Obviously, it's led by Mike, but we definitely have a strong group there again.
All right, we have just enough time for a couple more questions. We're going to go to Pete Sampson next.
Tommy, I think you might have answered the first one just about the identity of the offense. I think last year you sort of knew what it was going to be in the fall, in the summer. Is it going to take some time into August to be like, okay, this is actually what our identity is? And then the second one was just, I was interested if it is Jack Cohn, like how you see his skill set to be different from what Ian was, and if that will impact what the offense is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, like kind of what I alluded to, like we're going to take this thing into fall camp, right? And we're missing a couple pieces right now that are going to be critical for us in terms of how we develop. We're going to continue to work new opportunities, new ideas, creative ways to get our guys on the field. And that will take shape not only in next camp, but that's going to be emphasized, as much as we can from limited access, in May, in June, when the players are running things. So it's going to continue to be a work in progress. There's going to be things that we're going to want to continue to work on. There's going to be some things that say, hey, that doesn't really play to who we are this year. And playing to our strengths, but also developing some of the areas we need to improve on. There are some things that we need to be able to do, that you have to be able to do to win football games. And we're going to continue to emphasize those things and work on them. But again, this spring we'll finish up. We'll continue to push the envelope in terms of what we're doing offensively. And then in camp, as you kind of get midway through camp, you start to settle into who you are. Look, I'm not a huge fan of comparing guys. I never have been. Some of the things that made Ian great was the creativity, his ability to extend plays, his ability to buy time and get the ball outside. I think, like I said at the start, one of Jack's strengths is playing from the pocket. It's seeing things. He's got excellent feel within the pocket in terms of when to climb up, when to slide, when to move, and his eyes never really seem to dip. He does a nice job of keeping a level focus down the field and being able to drive the ball to different areas of the field. So is he the creator or the runner that Ian is? Probably not. Does he do some things in the pocket where he's able to operate there that maybe Ian didn't always do? Probably, but they're both really good players in their own right. And it's just going to be a different approach in terms of how the quarterback position is coached.
All right, next question. We're going to go to Patrick Engel.
Hey, Tommy, another one on Michael Mayer for you. When you have someone like him who earns you as a staff's trust so early and then has the freshman year he has, what's kind of the next step as a coach in continuing that development when, at least to us outsiders, it looks like a lot of those big pieces are already in place for him?
Yeah, no, look, when you coach great players, it makes you a better coach because you have to really hone in on the details and you got to find new ways to get them involved. So, I think for Mike, we're going to challenge him in terms of what we're going to ask him to do. He's going to be in different spots than he was in the past. We're going to, again, like I said, it's all about finding ways to isolate Mike in terms of how we get him involved in the passing game. So we're gonna ask him to do some different things. We're gonna move him around quite a bit, and that's all new for Mike. And that's stuff that he's eager to do and hungry to attack. And then there's nuanced things, right? Like hand placement in the run game. How he's better balanced in space in terms of being a lead hat or climbing to the second level. So all those things are going to continue to develop. I mean, John and I talk about it all the time. Like, he's still a freshman, right? He's still a freshman. He's still learning. He's really in his first off season in terms of strength and conditioning and being a part of this. So, for Mike's development, it's part in the weight room, and then it's also us developing, a larger plan that expands some of the things he's asked to do.
All right, since we are closing in on time, Bryan Driskell, you have the final question.
Well, I'll try to make it worth our time, Coach. I have a kind of a big picture question for you. You've talked about, how every year you guys are going to sort of adapt and evolve your offense around the personnel you have. I also wanted to ask you, is there any type of, what's the balance between evolving and adapting to what you already do, and then maybe looking and saying, are there things maybe that we need to add, or that we haven't necessarily have been a big part of our offense, or maybe something? Is there anything like that as far as when you evaluate your offense from a year-to-year basis, and not just adapting to what you do, but maybe evolving it and growing it, or doing some of those kind of things that you're not doing?
Yeah, so this might be a little bit of a long-winded answer. Yeah, I think there were some strengths last year, and there are some cornerstones of what you believe in offensively that you feel like need to carry over, and that you need to continue to work at and get good at and push, right? That's obvious. Everybody has their core beliefs, and this is what we're going to do. Look, I don't have a family. I don't have, many obligations besides this job. So I'm fortunate that I'm able to pour a lot of time into studying the game of football. And I've been around the game my entire life, something I'm extremely passionate about. It's something I love to do. So as you study, different people and what they're doing and how are people creating opportunities, the creativity and the ideas start to flow. So we understand, wholeheartedly, hey, we do not have the offensive line that we had last year. And so we're going to have to create some opportunities to be efficient, but also create explosives. So, as you study other people, as you study yourself and figure out, what can fit some of our personnel, what can fit some of the things that we want to do, and how do we apply that to the system that's in place. That's going to be never ending for me. It's always going to be striving to find the best ways to give our players opportunities to be successful. It is our job as coaches to find what our guys do well and put them in position to be successful based on matchups, based on space, based on leverage, all those different things. So as you start to see this offense unfold, you're going to see some different things. You're going to see some other ways that we're able to be efficient on early downs, other ways to stretch the field, other ways to create one-on-ones in space for our explosive guys to be in space. One thing I will say, I've been extremely fortunate in my 4 years, going on 5 here as a coach at Notre Dame, to be paired or to be exposed to great defensive coaches. I think, Clark Lee, what he did here at Notre Dame with the defense really took this program to the next level, and it made me a better coach. It made me strive to be better. I think, everyone that Clark came in contact with was better for it, right? I became a better coach in a year going against Clark every day, because you're constantly trying to find ways to better the offensive system. His seeing how successful and the way he approached his job motivated me to be in that same light, to approach work in that same way. Again, we are extremely fortunate to have Marcus Freeman now step in, who's really carrying on that tradition on defense. And although it may look different, it might be a different scheme, the same strengths in terms of going against a great coordinator every day has continued to push me and continued to urge me to want to be better and to find ways to get our offense in successful opportunities. The one thing about this defense now is we're going to see multiple looks, and we got young linemen playing, and they're seeing 3 down, they're seeing 4 down, they're seeing movement, pressure. All that's going to make them better. All of those things make myself as a coach better. So we're fortunate to be surrounded by great defensive coaches, whether it was Mike Elko, Clark, or now Marcus, that allows us throughout spring and throughout camp to push the things that we can do on offense to better our team. And this thing is, like I said, never ending. We're always striving to find new ways to create opportunities to give our players the success that they earned and deserve.
All right, that is all the time we have. So thanks for joining us today, Coach Rees.
All right, guys, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.